to speak on the Education Amendment Bill number 2 today. There's a very interesting assessment of the current state of our education system in the PPTA submission to the Select Committee about this bill. A comment was made by the ex-Deputy Minister of Ontario, Professor Ben Levine, that when we look at New Zealand education policy, we see lots of good projects, no strategy. They are words which could very well have summed up this bill. Indeed, it's a pretty good idea to refund course fees for international students who leave their courses before they are completed. But what about the bigger strategic direction around international education or around student fees? Another great idea is to stipulate specific requirements that would enable managers of private schools to be assessed as fit and proper for the responsibilities of managing a school. But again, what's the strategy emerging from private schooling? In Budget 2009, an extra $10 million was announced to supposedly make private schools more affordable. $2.6 million of this going into Aspire scholarships to provide assistance to low-income families to attend private schooling. But how do we know whether it has made a difference? Was it such a nice gift to independent schools? How many Māori families have benefited from this gift? How effective has it been in overcoming the long tail of underachievement and system failure that is consistently reported in the education sector? Then there's the issue of the removal of early childhood education regulatory requirements for limited attendance centres. These are the centres that are set up to provide short-term care in places like gyms or shopping malls. Again, it seems a good idea that there should be a different set of standards in place for such short-term centres. The last thing we would want to do is make the compliance costs so burdensome that parents are stung by over-the-top fees for what is essentially an hour or two of supervision. And some of these parents have got it so easy. I remember when I had my 5 children and had to go shopping, we didn't have childcare centres there then. I had to take the 5 of them with me, screaming around the supermarket, screaming around the mall. But now we have shopping centres, shopping malls with childcare centres, and that's a fantastic idea. But we shouldn't make it too burdensome for the parents to be able to leave their children there. We're not expecting such centres to provide comprehensive and developmentally appropriate learning opportunities, but on the other hand, we do not expect them to compromise on the health and safety of our precious children. And so we take on board the concerns of Te Tare Puna Ora or Aotearoa, the New Zealand Childcare Association, that safety and well-being must not be compromised in short-term gain. Finally, we come to the project proposed to open up secondary tertiary programs. We were interested to see this was a project which received support from as wide across as the Human Rights Commission and the Post-Primary Teachers Association. The Commission talked about the experience of Manukau Institute of Technology and the opportunity they have sought to enable a tertiary high school to operate there should be supported in other centres. The PPTA did suggest, however, that the legislation would do well to learn from the successful models of secondary tertiary partnerships which have been trialled and positively evaluated, which support students into work or further training. They talked about the fact that in most areas, ITOs, polytechnics and some private providers have successfully built partnerships that enable students to pursue alternative pathways towards work and further education while still at secondary school. Mr Speaker, the Māori Party is willing to support this bill to enable opportunities for enhancing education in a way that will result in positive outcomes. But we do return to the question of a proper strategy to really make the difference. In essence, the ideas in this legislation are just tinkering around the edges, leaving the enormity of the problems confronting the education sector untouched. This bill won't make the difference that is desperately needed. While that doesn't mean we should vote this bill down, it does mean we will continue to be vigilant in asking the Minister what she is doing in regards to general schooling and making the gains that we expect to see for Māori children. We have the Honourable Dr Peter Sharples working in the area of kaupapa Māori education, announcing a national review of Māori language education, helping to keep a focus on quality and excellence in kaupapa Māori schooling. But the reality is that less than 5% of our kids are in kura kaupapa education, leaving the great bulk of Māori children in the general system, in the mainstream. In the 2005 annual report on Māori education, it showed that Māori students in Year 11 who attended schools where teaching was in te reo Māori for between 51 to 100% of the time had a higher rate of attaining NCEA qualifications than Māori in other schools. So we've known that fact for some 5 years, and yet it still seems we're doing very little other than te kotahitanga to make the difference we need for Māori children to succeed in general schooling. Mr Speaker, these are the strategic questions we would have expected this bill to cover. It doesn't, and I guess we have to admit it was never set up to do, but that doesn't mean to say that the bigger questions shouldn't be asked.
Colin